Hey everyone, and welcome to the weekly roundup video for Eve Echoes for the week ending the 28th of July 2023. This is a little bit earlier than usual. I usually do them on a Saturday, but I've got a busy weekend ahead of me, unfortunately wallpapering, so let's get this video up and out there, shall we? So first and foremost, in the news for Eve Online, wow, bad start, Eve Echoes, this is Eve Echoes. First things first, we have Ready to Go. This is an event that's going on from the 26th of July to the 30th of August, whereby additional insurance orders, purchase orders, buy orders, whatever word you want to use, are placed on the market as part of the insurance process. It means that builders have more opportunities to sell things to the market. Not a massive deal for most of us, but it's there for those of you that are familiar with it. We also have reduced market taxes in Jita and Amar, with the broker's fee being reduced to 3%, well, not to 3%, by 3%, sorry, correct me there, and the transaction tax is being reduced also by 7%. We also have the Planet Development Boost, whereby we get a plus 50% yield on all of our planetary mining. So those of you that have capsuleer outposts out there, if you're running heavy water at the moment, I advise you cut down a little bit and just shift it to something else for the moment, because you're going to be filling up a lot faster than usual. So moving on, we also have the Super Capital Manufacturing Leaderboard, what do you call it? It's there, we can see it now in game, it's not this mysterious event that we can't see. There's not really that much to say about it really, the majority of us are just going to be occasionally glancing at that and just shrugging our shoulders, but it's there, we have it in game now. We also have the Navigator program, which I often refer to as the Catch Up program. What this is if we top up by 499 Aurum into our account, it has to be at least 499 Aurum, and it can be across multiple purchases, but what doesn't count is what's already in your account. If you do that, you get a bunch of skill points spread out across the month. It is worth noting that you don't have to spend the Aurum. You can hold it in your account for as long as you want until you find something that you want to spend money on. And the fewer skill points that your character has in-game, the more you'll benefit from this program. Me personally, I always invest in the Navigator program because later on, whether it's in a month's time or 2 months' time, I have something to spend the Aurum on. Like, even if it's just the Concord Pass, I'll top up on Aurum ahead of time during these events, and then spend it on the Concord Pass. And, of course, on a skin when the Grimace event comes around, because I like those skins. But moving along, it is also worth noting that we have now the Premium Navigator program, whereby we essentially double the amount of skill points that we get out of the catch-up system, but this time we actually have to spend the Aurum that you purchased. So yeah, that one's not for everybody. I only recommend doing this if you are really behind on skill points and you really want that fast forward. That would be a good opportunity to get those skill points. But for those of us Tech 10 players, it's not worth it. It's if you want your skill point numbers to be bigger than the other T10 players around you, go for it, but it's not good value for money. So moving along, we have the Plex report. So Plex is hovering at around 4.5 million ISK. If you can get lucky, you can catch the occasional buy order, like I did with this screenshot here, at around 4.32 million. Again, it seems to be holding steady at the moment. Moving on, we have the patch notes. We're only going to be glancing over these ever so briefly, but we have balance adjustments for the Nereus Nanocore, so it can now be installed across all of the variants of the Nereus. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that one right. Fleet Commander now receives all group recovery effects from all 5 squads. Cargo hold management implant, this is the ability on the implant, there is no magical new implant, now affects the delivery holds as well, which again seems to be interesting because that goes part and parcel with the Nereus, with the nanocores actually applying to, say, the Nereus hauling, which has a delivery hold. Interesting that we've got 2 hauling ships right there that are being affected. Interesting. Who knows what's in store? With the development of technology, it is now possible to compress titanium into a form with higher crystal density at outposts. That's going to be interesting. It's not going to be a massive deal for those of us that are manufacturing out in nullsec, but those of you that haul your goods to Jita to sell, yeah, this will come in handy, but we'll see how that turns out. The last time NetEase introduced a form of compression with ore, it ended up costing as much as the ore's value to compress in fuel. So we'll see how that pans out for us. It is now possible to reprocess damaged ore capital hulls, and it is now possible to reprocess the nanocore of Praxis ships. Personally, I wouldn't reprocess the nanocore of Praxis ships, because if they ever get buffed and become relevant and useful to everyone, you're not going to be able to get that nanocore back, probably. I don't know, I've not seen an option to get those nanocores outside of the initial method through the, what's it called? It's not a catch-up program. Comment down below, I've forgotten what it's called now. It's been a long time since I've had to click on it. So, optimizations. Valuation, yeah, these are patch notes, of course, that's there. Optimize the ship tips. Yeah, we're not going to go through all of these optimizations. Are there any... Here's one. Changed one of the missions in Roads to Set Sail from join a match of faction wargames to earn ISK. Of course, that will be a lot more newcomer friendly, because joining a match of faction wargames can be a bit tricky for some, especially if you have to wait 20 to 30 minutes. A lot of people are not going to join a match if they don't have that much time to spend in a queue, as opposed to playing the game. So that's a good thing for new starters right there. Optimise the description for special edition ships, including the Can You, where their insurance points are no longer increased. Notice how they didn't say the Can You prototype. It'll be interesting to see if this means anything or if this is just a typo. We'll move on to the bug fixes. Fixed an issue where there was a chance that reverse power skills could not be activated with the pulse crystal implants. My pulse crystal is not that highly leveled up, but it's my favourite implant, so I'm glad they're giving it some attention, even if it is just a bug fix. Fix an issue where modules such as the command burst will play their special effects once after being turned off. Okay, yeah. Fixed an issue where special effects of modules such as burst would continue to play instead of disappearing under rare circumstances. Fixed an issue where modules such as the Sinusoidal Field Generator would show that they are being deactivated under rare circumstances. Fixed an issue where the damage transfer attribute was displayed incorrectly in the tips of the Super Carrier cover module. Wow, that's a mouthful. Fixed an issue in the fitting window and the fighter tips where the damage of every fighter set was over-counted by one fighter, causing the numbers displayed in the tips to be higher than the actual values. I noticed something about this on the Eve Echoes Discord. Somebody was complaining the patch had actually nerfed the DPS of that carrier, and somebody just commented and said, no, your DPS hasn't changed, it's just the number that was being over-reported. But hey ho, it's good that they're fixing bugs. I have lost my place now, here we go. Fixed an issue where the unique bonus of Super Carrier would cause an increase in jump power consumption. Fixed an issue where Defense Disruption Burst was ineffective against some NPCs. And fixed an issue where the damage bonus of Bombard Tactics would sometimes not be removed after dealing damage. Lots of carrier specific stuff there, but it's kind of hard to avoid that when we've just had super carriers released. So let's move on after the patch notes, and we have this amazing graphic up on the Eve Echoes Discord server at the moment, the official one that is. What's the biggest change in New Eden in the last 3 years? Now the Discord post itself implies that it wants to hear about your biggest changes. But what has been the biggest change in the last 3 years? Why not comment down below? It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. So moving on to the last part of this video, and that is the weekly developer Q&A. And this comes straight to us from Taylor Rick. Thank you so very much for providing this to me. I've got a busy weekend ahead of me and I would not have been able to get this video up until, say, Sunday evening. So, big help. Question number 1. Hi devs. Would it be possible to make missiles go through the shield bubble, nightmare, guardian bubble, etc.? It would make missile a useful and powerful weapon type and a lot of content for PvP players. That's an interesting one there, because as far as like physics are concerned, they're no different to drones. They still move into the bubble of their own accord. I could see lore-wise that working, but let's see their answer. Hi there, thanks for asking about missiles and shield bubbles. Unfortunately, we won't make missiles able to go through shield bubbles because we don't want shield bubbles. Because we don't want shield bubbles provide different defensive effects for different weapon types. We hope you keep enjoying the game. Okay, we don't want the shield bubbles to provide different defensive effects for different weapon types. Hello? Don't drones do that? Don't drones fly under the bubble? Isn't that why drones are so very, very popular at times? I don't know, but it would be really cool and interesting to see that happen. It'd help further shift us away from a sole focus on the shield meta. Anyway, moving on to question number 2, and it's worth noting that Nettie's NPixie appears to be the one answering all of this week's questions. Question number 2. Could we expect in the future an option to turn off backgrounds? Some of the backgrounds, yes, I'm looking at you, Clara Lamb, are extremely bright and hurt the eyes of light-sensitive people, causing migraines. My phone also overheats less when the background is black. Yeah, that's understandable. Anything that helps make the game more accessible, all for. If they just introduced a little tick box in the graphic settings that said turn off the skybox, that'd be quite handy actually. But let's have a look at the answer. Thank you for your feedback. On one hand, we understand that some of the backgrounds in Eve Echoes can be bright, and we are sorry that it may be uncomfortable for some players. On the other hand, space is full of bright stars, and we want to create a realistic and immersive in-game experience. You could try adjusting the camera angle to avoid looking directly at the stars. Let us know if this will be helpful. You can adjust the camera angle, but it would be a good compromise for NetEase to insert just one more skybox into the game. And that skybox can just be completely black with stars. No nebula patterns, no galaxy patterns, none of that. Just a nice, plain, simple one. It would help with devices that overheat, and it would help with people that can't look at bright objects quite so well. There's no harm in doing it really, and the more accessible we make this game to people, whether it's due to device hardware or the individual themselves, the better. That's the way I see it anyway. Let's move on to question number 3. What are your thoughts on training beacons corporations could place? These beacons could be used for training spaces to teach new players about fleet tactics. They could create a bubble no one could warp into but your corporation. Other players could still warp to within 150 kilometers and fly inside the bubble. These beacons could be movable. So when they say beacons, are they thinking of like some kind of little arena or testing area? Because I'm not entirely sure why you would need that personally. I don't know. Let's have a look at the answer. Hey, thanks for bringing up the idea of training beacons. It's an interesting concept, but unfortunately, we probably can't work on it at the moment. However, we do appreciate your feedback and we'll keep it in mind for future updates. If you're looking for some training opportunities, Corporation Clash is a good way to practice tactics. It can be, yes, but as I understand, Corporation Clash costs a lot of ISK in order to engage in. What I would say here instead is faction wargames, to try and encourage more people into faction wargames, which resolves the infinitely long queuing issue. Missed opportunity there. But it also is worth noting that this isn't a question, this is a suggestion. And yeah, I guess half of these days are suggestions as opposed as questions. But that's today's Q&A. 3 questions, 3 answers. What do you think about them? Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And thanks again for listening. If you're still listening at this very point in time, listening to me ramble on, hit that subscribe button so you can stick around, see all the videos as they come live, etc, etc. Anyway, I'll cut the ramble there. Thanks again for listening, guys, and watching, and I'll see you guys in New Eden.